Hey guys, Taurin here. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Galactic Civil War, or GCW, on SWG Restoration. So, the Galactic Civil War, or GCW, is a mixture of PvE and PvP related content, lots of overlap there between the Galactic Empire and the Rebel Alliance, and the players within those factions. This can involve multiple different things such as planetary control of different regions, city invasions, galactic battlefields, space battles, a bunch of different content. Now you may be wondering, how do I get involved in this? You may be seeing the fight that's going on my screen right now and wondering, how do I get involved in these sort of events? This looks awesome. And you know, the Galactic Civil War is awesome, especially if you're an RPer. You know, Restoration has a very large RP community. And my goal here today is to show you guys the basics of getting into the PvP and PvE of the Galactic Civil War. One of the first things you're going to want to do if you want to get involved in the Galactic Civil War is you're going to want to join the factions. So your two options are obviously the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire, whether you'd rather fight for freedom and democracy or the tyranny of the Emperor. You can make that choice yourself. I'm obviously biased. As you see here, I'm a rebel. You can find these recruiters all over the galaxy. Rebel recruiters are often tucked away in the backs of cantinas or scattered on the different rebel outposts throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, Imperial recruiters can often be found in the middle of big cities, such as Theed or Mos Eisley, out in the open, flaunting their loyalty to the Empire. So now that you guys have joined a faction and spoken to your recruiter, let's talk about the combat statuses. So if you open up your character sheet, you'll see up here it says Rebel Special Forces. There's 3 different combat statuses for both factions. There's On Leave, Combatant, and Special Forces. If you want to PvP, you need to be Special Forces. On Leave, what On Leave means is that you're essentially a civilian. NPCs and other players of the other faction cannot attack you. Combatant means that NPCs of the other faction can attack you, but players cannot. Special Forces means that players of the other faction that are also flagged Special Forces, as well as NPCs, can attack you. So right now, my character is flagged for Rebel Special Forces, so this means any Imperial NPC, so a Stormtrooper, Dark Trooper, Imperial Officer, whatever, will attack me, but also Imperial players that are flagged Special Forces as well will be able to attack me, and I'll be able to attack them. Now you may be wondering, how do I go to Special Forces from On Leave or Combatant? Well, it's easy. All you do is you go into the chat and you type /PvP. You type /PvP once to go from On Leave to Combatant, and then you type it again to go from Combatant to Special Forces. It is worth noting that when you go from On Leave to Combatant, the switch is instant. However, when you swap from Combatant to Special Forces, it takes 30 seconds before you'll be flagged Special Forces. Now you may be wondering, how do I flag down? Well, it's easy. You type /PvP again while you're flagged Special Forces. And then in 5 minutes, there's a 5-minute window for this, you'll go from Special Forces down to Combatant. Now where it does start to get a bit tricky is when you want to go from Special Forces or Combatant back to being On Leave. And if you want to go On Leave at all, you have to talk to another recruiter. So I'm currently swapping down from Special Forces right now, but you'll have an option with your recruiter where you speak to them about your combat status, and then you tell them you want to go on leave, and then in 5 minutes from when you click that, you'll go on leave. As you see here, I get a notification that says I am now on leave. There we are. Now you may be wondering, well, I can check my own combat status, but can I check other players' combat status? You can. If you right click on another player, you can do radial and then show character sheet. And you can see up here, this character is an Imperial Combatant. So let's say I was on leave. Well, I am on leave right now, and this character was Special Forces. I could radial 4, see Imperial Special Forces, and know, oh, this person's flagged for PvP. Then I could flag up myself and fight them. Now, something else to take into consideration when you're looking at other players' combat statuses or getting ready for PvP is to keep an eye out for players that have blinking names. As you see on my screen right now, this character, her name is blinking, blue and green. What this means is that this character is currently changing their combat status. Whether this be from Special Forces to On Leave, or special forces to combatant, or from combatant up to special forces, that's for you to figure out by doing radio 4. So I look and I see this character is blinking and they're Imperial combatants, so that must mean in a few seconds there'll be Imperial special forces. Yep, as you see here, Imperial special forces. The first type of PvP that I'll talk about is city invasions. You see here this clip again of me fighting in a big massive battle between Imperials and Rebels. This right here is a city invasion. And I'll make separate videos about each of these different types of PvP, but for now I'll cover the basics. City invasions are daily events that happen multiple times throughout the day in a couple different cities, and they're basically PvE, PvP events that go on where players can fight both each other and NPCs to seize control of a city. And it's a very fun place to go if you're looking for PvP. As you see here, there's a lot of players showing up. This doesn't always happen, but when you do have a lot of players on either side show up, it's a great time. So the next type of PvP that I'm going to talk about is battlefields. Now, battlefields are an instance form of PvP in a confined area between two teams of evenly sized players. And these are usually a bit more coordinated. You have to do some coordinating between players and guilds to set up events for these or to set up matches because the queues aren't popping all the time. This is usually organized through Discord between different groups of players, but this is a really good opportunity for newer players to get involved in PvP, as world PvP and invasions can oftentimes very heavily lean in favor of one side over the other as far as numbers go, whereas battlefields, it's a controlled area of equal sized teams. So it'd be 8 players versus 8 players, or 6 versus 6, or 5v5, so on and so forth. And you can see on my screen here, this is an example of big groups of players in battlefields on one of the different maps fighting together. There's all sorts of explosions and blaster fire going around, but there's all sorts of different game modes you can do, like Data Runner, which is like a reverse capture of the flag, Bunker Assault, which you see here, which is sort of a King of the Hill, and then there's Masasi Isle and Jungle Warfare, a bunch of great maps that you can play. And it's a really good opportunity for new players to experience equal footing fights. The last type of PvP that I want to talk about is world PvP. Now, open world PvP is generally sporadic and random, as it's between different groups of players that are flag special forces. This can happen between 2 players one-on-one, or a group of 8v8, as you see on my screen here. These are usually pretty difficult to coordinate as they happen randomly, but if you're interested in getting involved in PvP, definitely keep an eye out for world PvP and try to hop in whenever you see it happen. It's really fun, makes the galaxy feel really alive, and I highly recommend it to everybody. Well, I hope you guys found this information helpful. I'll have some more information regarding specific aspects of PvP and the Galactic Civil War coming in the future, but for now, I just wanted to talk about the basics, and I hope I answered any questions that anybody had, and until those next videos come out, I hope you guys have a great day.